Good afternoon, I'm Tom Meaney, lecturer in Culinary Arts, and I'm here in Dave Heffernan's #1 Polytunnel, and I'm just going to ask Jayme to follow me and take a lovely shot of all the beautiful microcresses and microherbs that Dave grows for Ireland. You can see the beautiful colours. Here is a sample of red vein sorrel, absolutely gorgeous, full of goodness, full of nutrition, some baby fennel. And down here we have some beautiful red basil. Oh my God. Isn't that fantastic? It's an awful pity you can't pick up the smell because it's beautiful. You can see a lovely array of Dave's products. Lovely nasturtiums down there in the corner. And Dave is about to talk to us about all of these microcresses, microgreens in the next short while. Okay, I'd now like to introduce you to Dave. Dave, how are you? And thanks for inviting us down. And looking around here, Dave, I just have to ask you, can you please tell us, how did you go from landscape gardening to this fabulous display?
It was out of necessity, Tom, to be honest. I went to UCD and done the horticultural course there, the green horticulture, and moved into the plant growing business and into landscaping. It was going very fine. We had a nice little business going, and the crash came and it all went pear-shaped from there.
Yeah.
So I was always messing around with plants at home myself. I just enjoy doing it, just even as a hobby for the garden or just for the kitchen and that. And we said we'd try to develop something for the food industry.
Right.
That we thought if another recession came, people still have to eat.
Yes.
So we were looking at growing herbs for the shops or for supermarkets, that kind of a style thing. And we couldn't grow them cheap enough here compared to what they were buying in from Holland or from Egypt or from Israel all over.
Yeah, a long way away.
We went to some of the local hotels and restaurants with our product, and they suggested we try grow microgreens.
Yeah.
So we went back, and it was a very competitive market. Again, there's a huge amount of imports coming in of a very standard type of a microgreen, very small, and the chefs wanted something a little bit bigger, something with more presence on the plate. So we started developing microgreens to a larger size, grow them out for another 8 or 10 days, and have a product that couldn't be imported, so we had a competitive advantage in the country. So working with the chefs, and it was purely chef driven from the day one, we developed a very unique product of very high quality, and that's what we supply into the restaurants in Dublin now, and throughout the country as well, through different wholesalers. I was very grateful to the chefs for the amount of input that they put in.
Right.
At the start I was nearly afraid going into them, because you have these images of chefs and the sheet.
Yes, and it's not true. We're lovely people.
Most of them are, yeah. There are a few now. But most of them are very, very encouraging. Yeah. They actually sat down and they gave me a bit of time and told me, right, we like this product, it could be better. And they encouraged me how to grow it to a size that they wanted. They encouraged me to grow varieties that was suitable for their plates, for the different seasons. And from there we started off with 10 or 12 varieties, and slowly over the years we just built it up. I'd say we've 35, maybe 40 different varieties now, depending on the season. As I said, it's chef driven. They come up with the ideas. The top men, the Michelin men, they're watching what's happening in America or in London or in Europe, and they want that on their plates. They're all copying ideas and using them in their own unique way. We're trying to do the same. We're trying to grow a product that can maybe be grown in Brazil or grown in New York. We're trying to grow it in Ireland, and with the right conditions, it can very successfully grow in country meats.
So you're responding to the chef's needs and desires.
It's the only way that this business will work. Yeah. They are our market, and at the moment we don't have any retail sales. It's purely into the restaurants, hotels, cafes, that trade. So what they ask us, we try to grow.
Right.
Our commitment to the quality then is reflected in what they can put on their plate, and consistently we can grow our business through our quality.
And as you know, Dave, chefs can be a bit critical, so
I found they are critical to
and give them quality.
Yeah, positively though. They tell you when it's wrong. But you need to know that. It's better for a chef to talk to you and say, that's not good enough, rather than just not buying off you and going and buy somewhere else. But I think we've developed a relationship with the chefs because we deliver directly to them ourselves. I call in every morning into the kitchens.
That's important.
They send me a text message the night before saying what they want. Or even that morning, you could get a text message 9 in the morning, I forgot to order.
Okay.
We let the traffic go into town, we go in, we do our run around, we're finished at 1 o'clock, back and we start into our work. But it's that direct contact with the chefs is the key to why the business grew so well.
Okay, that's fantastic. Plus, it's local, low carbon footprint. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's a thing that's going, after appearing on the menus more and more in the last couple of years. It's a locally sourced product. They love to say we supply, or we are sourcing from local producers, from Irish producers.
Yes.
And they can put it on with pride that we are growing a product as good, if not better, than anywhere you'll get in the world. And that follows true not just for cresses, it's for all of the horticultural industry. There's seriously good growers in Ireland.
Great.
And they're not getting the recognition, I think, until recently.
Yeah.
But the chefs are more and more putting it on their plate. And the customer is responding to it. The customer wants to see Dave from Ballyhack with his cress in the plate. Or they want to see local producers.
They want to know where there are plants, veg, beef, fish, everything.
And we had a conversation with a very well-known chef, and he's saying I was too expensive. I said we don't try to be the cheapest.
Yes.
I have no interest in being the cheapest.
Quality costs.
I want to be the best.
Yes.
And it's you can get this from Westlands in the UK or from wherever, Cooper Cress in Holland. They will never sit in your restaurant, but we will go back and support you.
Yes.
And it's that link, it's that relationship that you have with the chefs, that drives the business for both of them. They'll know I come in and spend my money. They spend their money with me.
So this is a long-term commitment, Dave. This isn't short-term.
Oh, this is the future, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dave, that's great. Thanks very much. I know you're going to teach us and show us how to plant these seeds and microgreens in a moment. Dave, can you show us how you plant these beautiful microcresses, please, from the start?
No problem, Tom. It's very simple. We need three elements to make the microgreens to grow.
Right.
We need heat, we need seed, and we need water.
Okay, that's straight.
We start with compost, a clean board Namona seeding compost.
That's not special compost?
No, you can buy it in the garden centre. It's the exact same as multi-purpose compost that you get in your ordinary garden centre. This is maybe a little bit of a finer grade. It's like a professional type, but the multi-purpose compost will grow perfectly well.
Very expensive?
Not at all. About €5 for a bag. We buy it by pallet loads.
Yeah.
We want to be cheap, but it is. The actual growing process of this is not expensive.
Okay.
So we're using recyclable punnets here, black recyclable. We tried using clear, and we had awful problems with the light hitting the roots. Whereas the black kind of creates a microclimate, and we get that little bit of extra heat into particularly in the winter time.
Yeah.
So we fill them to water level.
Okay.
We've done thousands of these, so we're getting.
I'm looking at
we're getting fairly good at it now.
Natural you are, yeah.
Yeah, we do maybe 2,000 of these little punnets a week, so you get kind of handy at it after a couple of weeks.
Okay. And I know I've asked you before, you've tried using alternatives to plastic, but they just don't work to get wet and damp. And
yeah, and it is something we're really conscious about. Is try to even reduce our peat compost, try to change to a different type of compost, or change away from plastic. We're doing research on it all the time, but we just we can't get
the next best thing.
Yeah, we can't get the quality just right yet, but it's something that we're working on continuously.
Okay.
We just tapped it on the top of the compost, just so that we can create a small lip around the top of the punnet.
That looks like a little block that you made yourself.
It is indeed, yeah. There's a lot of money spent on equipment here, as you can see.
Right. But it's practical.
It works.
Right.
So we're using, in this case, we're using rocket.
Okay.
It's a solid
Everybody loves
rocket.
rocket. It's very popular.
It is. It's nice and peppery.
Yeah.
The chefs go mad for it. It's great, particularly during the summertime. You'd use an awful lot of it. In canapes and that, then in the winter time, and it gives a nice little hint of pepperiness onto a dish.
Right.
So this seed is untreated seed.
And what's that? A very special seed. Where
Yeah,
do they come from, Dave?
a lot of the seed that would sow into fields and that would have a pellet on it. It would kind of be coated, and it's to keep pests and diseases away. Because this is a food crop and it's going to be harvested within 10 or 12 days, we don't want any chemicals in it.
Okay.
Everything we grow here, Tom, is completely chemical free.
Chemical free.
We don't use any type.
like that.
If we
That's
have a problem, we throw it out, we compost it. Most of the time, if you're in the right growing conditions, you won't have any problems.
Okay. That's very
So we're putting on the seed. It's an untreated rocket seed, salad rocket, and we sow it very, very heavy.
Right.
Compared to now, if a farmer saw me putting it on like this, he'd go absolutely mad. He'd say it's a pure waste.
Yes.
But because the seed or the plant is only going to be 10, 12 days old, we can put it in a very high density.
And you're going to get maximum output.
Yeah, because we're only growing them like to 4 or 5 inches in height,
and
like,
they're sold.
And then they're sold. Like they're harvested fresh in the punnet. Whereas if we were growing a rocket plant, we'd have to maybe put 2 seeds in each punnet because they need the space to grow out.
Okay, I understand that. Yeah.
So after we see them, we just tap them down just to secure them, to get a good plant
No
contact.
need to cover them with more.
No, not at all. We don't ever cover anything.
Okay.
With very few exceptions, there's no need to cover seeds because we're looking for a little bit of stem on it.
Yes.
Like it's something that you can cut. It gives a little bit of depth to the plant. And if we bury them, it's going to be very, very tight. The top of the plant will be very tight to the top of the punnet. and they'll be sticking knives into the compost, and they'll be giving out that they can't get
These are all
enough out
things
of
you've
it.
learned along the way, Dave.
Exactly, yeah. So we just give it a very light watering,
Okay.
just like that.
So seed, water, temperature.
That's
They're the
it.
three elements.
Humidity is probably one thing I forgot about. And we need to get these to germinate, we need about 24 degrees. We
Okay.
put them into a germination chamber, which in our case is just a converted shed.
Yeah.
It's insulated and there's a heater in it. And we try to keep the temperature around 24 day and night for 2 days. We cover over the top of the plant just to retain the humidity.
Oh,
For a seed to germinate quickly and consistently, it needs to be about 85-90% relative humidity. Normal day like today would be maybe 50-60%, which is perfect for growing a plant, but we're really trying to force this plant to just get a good start. And that goes into the germination chamber for 2 days, and then we have
I believe you
a
have some here.
2-day-old plant there.
Wow, they're already jumping up.
That's right, yeah. They were sold 2 days ago. You can see there's a nice even germination.
Yes.
We're only taking them out just as they're popping. Now,
Okay.
you could let them grow on and you get a big long leggy plant. It's no use to us. It'll flop over in transport and everything. So we give this light at this stage.
Yeah.
In the summertime we can just go in under natural light. In the wintertime we have to add some lights and heat to it.
Okay.
But we need to kind of keep the plant nice and compact. So we have a plant that's 2 days old.
Yeah.
We move on the same plant, it's a rocket. It's 6 days old. See, it's nice and compact. Same thing, plant is at 10 days old.
This is ready for sale.
That's ready for sale at that
Beautiful.
size.
And I see what you mean. It's lovely and uniform.
Easy to cut. There's a bit of presence on the plate when you take it off,
Hold on, Dave.
and
Final
tastes
test.
delicious.
Oh my God, an explosion of flavour.
It is.
It's beautiful, rocket.
Peppery. You'd want to like your pepper with rocket.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, that's gorgeous. Dave, thanks again, and I believe we're going to see our potting shed very shortly.
Yeah, shall we give it a tour? Thank you.
And here we have Dave's #1 employee, Stephen, his son. Hi, Stephen.
Hello.
And Stephen is going to show us how every day he has to come out here and water all these plants. Go ahead, Stephen. Super, and you can see that the plants will absorb the water from the bottom up. Thank you, Stephen. Dave, can you tell us about, these are some of the most popular microgreens and herbs that you sell all around Ireland. Can you tell us what they are and maybe some of their uses?
Tom, we grow a range of about 35 or 40 different types of microgreens.
Wow.
Now, it changed a little bit. There's a core of about 30 we'd have all year round, and then we kind of interchange with the seasons.
Okay.
It's something the chefs really have encouraged, that at a certain time of the year you use a certain type of a plant.
Yeah.
Basil being the #1 prime example. We're just coming out of the summer. Basils are a huge plant during the summertime. This one is a red basil, dark opal basil. But
Yeah.
we grow a range of Thai basil
I've heard
as
you
well.
mention a few different basils.
Lemon basil, your Genovese basil, all with their own unique flavours.
Yeah.
This one would be very much like the Genovese basil, your traditional Italian basil. But it has that lovely red leaf to it.
It has
Gives a
beautiful
great bit of
colour,
life.
deep colour, yes.
And in certain dishes like fishes and that, they can look very plain on the plate. And they want to get the flavour, they also want to get a little bit of colour
A little
into it.
lift. Yes.
And that's what we're introducing here. The likes of the basils now will be kind of finishing off. We're going into the autumn time. People are looking for more heartier kind of
So you're
flavours.
phasing the basils out and you're bringing in,
Bring in something like beetroot.
yes.
Again, it's got a massive colour, really sweet beetroot flavour.
Okay.
More so than what you get in the jar, the pickled one. This is
Yes.
sweet flavour. Now, I don't know what they'd use it exactly for, but you being the chef,
Well, I'm looking at the colour. That's an autumn colour. That's a real game colour. I can see that going with venison and pheasant and grouse. Oh my God, yes, it'll be delicious.
yeah, they're very popular from now right through until maybe February, March, and then the menus start to change again after the Christmas into the springtime, and then we bring in another range of plants where people are particularly looking for, maybe they're looking for the apple marigold, or they want a little bit of mint to go back in with, the, say, for Easter, for lamb and that.
Yes,
So we
okay.
definitely mint would be a huge
So you have
seller.
a plan, you have a chart, you have a year. to
Yeah,
see.
year on year we've been developing
Okay.
it, like just with the chefs to saying, like if they asked for it last year, we'd have a note of it. All right, we better start growing this. They're going to be
Okay.
looking for it in a month's time. What we have in this tray, Tom, would be probably the most popular ones that we'd sell in any one
Top
box.
6, say,
This is more or less coriander. All
Yes.
year round, people want coriander.
of course.
Huge variety of uses for it. It's very easy for us to grow. It's 3 weeks old, and we have a constant supply of it there, week in, week out.
Really, so that started off 3 weeks ago as a seed.
That's right, yeah, and you can still
Okay.
see in some of them the little seeds are still on them.
Yes.
While they'd actually germinate and they pop, they just hang on to the leaf. A microgreen, Tom, is a plant that grows to its first true leaf stage. Now, if you
Okay.
see with this, there's the true leaf.
Right.
The first leaves that came out are flat. You wouldn't know what type of plant it is. And then
Okay.
the true coriander leaf comes out. And that's what they're looking for on the plate, that when they put a little bit of, they get the flavour and have a little bit
Decorative.
bit of colour.
And that's your landscaping knowledge and experience coming out there, Dave.
Oh, that's my artistic flair, Tom,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Red vein sorrel, another huge
Looks
popular
beautiful.
plant. We get the seed from the UK. We were using it was a plain kind of a red vein sorrel, and this variety, red lava, was introduced a couple of years ago. We shied away from it because we thought it was quite hard to grow.
Okay.
But with a bit more practice and trial and error, we've developed this, and it's got a fabulous leaf on it.
Oh, yes.
Really well defined. It
Yeah.
goes gorgeous on the plate. It just really shines up for canopies and it's slightly citrusy flavour. It's not overly flavoursome, but that can suit some plates as well. That they don't want a powerful flavour.
Just
You
a
know.
little balance is what they're looking for.
Beside it we've lemon balm, which is a very popular plant for us. Grown to this size, lemon balm, it's really sweet. It's like
Yes,
the lemon
concentrate.
sorbet you used to get when we were young
absolutely,
lads.
Yeah.
Very good for the pastries, for desserts.
I've used this, Dave. I've used it in ice cream and sorbets and syrups, and I can tell you now, it has an explosion of flavour.
Yeah,
Just as soon
it
as
packs
you
a
get
punch.
palate.
It packs a punch. The lemon balm, when it's grown to a larger leaf size, has a very hairy kind of leaf in it, nearly stick in your tongue. But a small plant, and it's the beauty of the microgreens, a small plant doesn't have that hairiness on the leaf. Very palatable. Gives an explosion of colour, or an explosion of flavour, should I say. Fennel, again,
Yeah.
all year round people want fennel.
Everybody loves fennel.
And dill as well, which we have, but dill will be a bit more delicate, where fennel suits us, because we have to get the plant to the customer,
Yes.
and it has to arrive in good condition. Whereas dill tends to flop around all over the place.
Okay.
Fennel is a good sturdy
Stronger.
plant.
Okay.
Again, it has that lovely aniseedy flavour, looks really well on the plate. There's plenty of volume, there's loads in the punnet, so you can
Yeah.
get plenty of covers on it. We've developed them in such a way that we give as much value as we can in the punnet. Before we were trying to skimp on seed, and you know, you're looking at the profit margin, the whole lot.
Yes. No, it doesn't work.
Give as much as you can. If the plant is good enough, charge for it.
Yes.
But make sure when someone gets it, well, look, at least we got a bit of value out of it.
Absolutely.
We mightn't be the cheapest, but at least you can use every single leaf. And that's the beauty of it. Well, we sell everything live grown. We sell
Yes.
it in the punnet. So when it lands into the chef, he puts it onto a gastro tray or a tray of water like this. It'll
Pop
just
it
keep
in the
growing.
fridge or leave it in the kitchen?
Yeah, it'll just
Either
leave it
either.
in the kitchen. Doesn't
Okay.
need to go in the fridge.
Okay.
And it'll just keep growing and growing and growing. The chef cuts what he wants for service tonight, and he still has it dead fresh the next day.
So he can cut a little, he can cut a lot.
As much as he needs.
Have that choice.
Yeah, if he's 100 covers, he might use the whole punnet. If he's only 20 covers, he only uses a small bit of it.
Ah, yeah.
And all the plant's going to do is get bigger and bigger and bigger. So you're saving and saving
Yeah.
and saving the longer you have it.
Okay, so zero waste.
The next tray we have here is some of the more ornamental type of plants that we use.
Okay,
Now, nasturtium leaf
very popular then.
is very popular all year round, and particularly in the winter time. It gives a lovely colour on the plate. It's a lovely kind of ornate
Yes.
leaf.
Oh, yes.
It packs a punch. It is very peppery. Nasturtium, I think it derives from a Greek word for twisted nose. And when you
Okay.
eat it, you
know why.
twist your nose. It's
Yeah.
very pungent, but a small amount on the plate. Brilliant with fish. I see it used an awful lot with
Yeah.
fish.
And there's a great amount of it here. I mean, you get a lot of presentations out of that small little pump.
Yeah, there should be 75,
That's value,
80
yeah.
leaves on it, yeah.
Wow.
We try to give a bit of value. And look, they're not all perfectly shaped.
No.
And that is, some of
That's
that is the
natural.
beauty. If they want a perfect shaped leaf, that you see some of the chefs, they use it to press on it, get the perfect circle. More chefs are just as happy to have them as a natural.
Okay.
In front we have shiso. Red shiso is very popular all year
Shiso.
round. It's a Japanese herb.
Okay.
There's a red shiso and a green shiso. Totally different flavours. The red shiso will be as close to cumin in flavour as we can get.
Wow.
It's very difficult to actually grow cumin into a microgreen.
Yes.
But this, it'll give the lovely red colour, has that cumin type flavour, and it's a popular plant all year round. It's popular. It loves the sunshine, and it really, in the summertime now, you'd see it explode in colour. In the winter time, little bit less so. But under the lights and that, we can successfully
time.
grow it.
Okay.
Beside it, we spoke about the mint for lamb and that.
Yeah.
But used pastry
And
chefs
salads.
use it all the time. Yeah,
Absolutely, yeah.
definitely. Beside it, we have apple marigold, and this is a
Apple
prime
marigold.
example of chefs driving what we do.
Okay.
We were asked for it 2 years ago, hadn't a clue what they were talking about.
Okay.
Went and done a bit of research, asked some other growers. There was a grower there outside New York, follow him on Instagram, asked him, what's this apple marigold? He sent me over a little bit of seed. We sourced the seeds. We spent about a year trying to grow it. It was notoriously difficult to germinate. It
Okay.
kept
So you could have
developing
given up,
problems.
but you didn't.
Well, we couldn't because people were asking for it.
Okay. Yeah.
So eventually we've nailed it, and then for the last year or 18 months now, we've fabulous apple marigold in a microgreen form. Very decorative.
And does it taste like
Ta-
apple?
No, not so much.
May I taste
You
it?
tell me.
Yeah.
You're the chef.
Okay. There's a nice little smell. Yeah.
There's a
aroma of it.
citrusy kind of flavours or tones off it. Yeah.
Absolute orange lemon.
Yeah, you get that citrusy, but it's apple
Very
marigold.
fresh.
And
Very
again,
fresh.
you can grow it out into a flower form. If we were ever left with a few plants, put them in the garden, let them grow up, and then we have the little flowers. So there's no waste.
So that was a challenge that you met
It was, yeah.
and succeeded.
It's funny, you put a huge amount of effort into something, and some chefs would recognise, oh yeah, fair play to you, got to the end of it, like. But we do a little bit on Instagram, and I was definitely a year trying to grow this. And it was around June time we mastered it and put up a post, and we got maybe 100 likes, you know.
Oh,
and I
yes.
was there delighted with myself. Apple marigold, you know, I'm the lad.
Yes.
And the next week we bought a new van, and I put up the picture of the van, and it got 1,000 likes, and I was disgusted. I said, like, anyone can walk in and buy a van.
Yes.
But that took effort.
Ah, yes.
You know,
I can see it.
a little bit of carrot. We're just talking about seasonality. We're coming into the lovely sweetness of the carrot, coming back into the autumn
Is
time.
this the carrot that we grow?
It's your
as a
ordinary carrot,
vegetable?
early Nantes
Early.
too. It's a
Okay.
real old variety.
Lovely shape, lovely decoration.
Yeah, again, no chemicals or anything used in it. Beautiful shape, lovely sweetness of the carrot in it. It's used from right through from now to Christmas, just after Christmas.
Yeah.
The last tray we have then is a typical garnish type of a tray. It's a lot of chefs would use, say, to buy a box of microgreens, cut them all, mix them together, and they just want a dainty little bit on the plate.
Ah, yes.
So
So a
we've-
little last sprinkle before the function goes out.
Exactly, yeah. It's
Yeah.
just for garnish. It's just
Yeah.
to give a little bit of light, a bit of colour to the plate.
Sure.
So we have red radish, ruby pak choi. Next to it is with sabina, red frilled mustard, red mizuna, and a green mizuna. And cut together, they've got the mouthstry flavours, they've got the radish flavours, they've got a little bit of life and a little bit of presence because they're growing
Yes.
out into their true leaf. It's a perfect mescaline type of a mix.
Fantastic.
You could also add something like rocket or that to it as well to give it a little bit of a punch.
Yeah.
If we were ever going to cut it for someone, we might add a few little marigold flowers to it as well and give it that little orange colour. Really looks well.
And we're going to see the flowers later on, Dave. I'm glad you mentioned that. But before that, can I just ask, if I am a chef in a restaurant and I want to buy some of your produce, Dave, do I have to buy all of the one type, or this is a mixed box?
Yeah,
So,
not
right,
at
you
all.
can mix and match whatever I want.
Anything you want, and that's from day one we set it up that way. While some things are more expensive to grow and some things are cheap to grow, we kind of put them all into a pot and said, right,
Okay.
we're going to charge one price for everything and just hope everyone doesn't go for the expensive ones.
And what
But
price is that,
What we
Dave?
offer is €15, €2.50 for a punnet.
Just let me think if I heard that right. €15.
€15
Oh my
for a
God.
box.
That's
Box of
great
6,
value.
any selection, or you can get all one type, half and half. The chefs,
Customer decide.
exactly. Sometimes they might only want one pea shoot rather than buying a box of pea shoots. Depends on the menu.
Yes.
Other days they might want a box of pea shoots.
Okay.
So whatever they want, we'll divide it up as long as we have it.
You'll sell it.
We'll sell it.
That's great, Dave. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thanks, Tom.
Here we are at Dave's potting shed. Now, as you can see, it's an ordinary shed. I believe Dave built it himself. No need for anything too fancy. And if you follow me in, we're going to see where Dave did all his planting. Hi, Dave.
No, Tom.
And you can see, if you have a look there, it's insulated, well insulated. Again, nothing fancy. All of this is done by Dave's hands. And I believe the most important piece of equipment in this shed, as Dave tells me, is here hanging on the wall. And that's the thermostat. And that is crucial, as Dave is about to explain, for all of these microgreens. Dave, tell us a bit more. This is where the magic happens.
This is where it all starts. They say there's a phrase in farming, well sown is half grown.
Right.
And that definitely applies to in here. It's a fairly standard, ordinary garden shed. We built it there a couple of years ago. Insulated it, but the number one thing in here is that we can keep the temperature right.
Yes.
And around 24 degrees is absolutely perfect temperature.
Okay.
There's very few seeds who need higher than that, and most of them don't need more. So if you can keep them around there, you can get a steady supply of plants coming week in, week
And
out.
what happens if it goes up or down, if something happens?
Up isn't too bad once it doesn't go over 30. So
Okay.
like in the real hot
Okay.
summer, alright, we'll have doors open and we'll be trying to ventilate it a little bit. It's not the end of the world.
Right.
If it goes lower, plants slow down. It's not that you'll kill them or...
Okay.
Like, seeds are fairly hardy and
Right.
they're used to growing outdoors. They've all got their own climates and that for growing in. But we're trying to, with our plants, like the basils and coriander and that, they're Mediterranean plants. They need the little bit of heat.
Yes.
So in the summer it's not that important. In the winter it's crucial. And we saw particularly last week there was a little bit of frost.
That's right.
If it gets cold in here, everything slows down. Now, it's very important that we have a program of growth. That if we sow on a certain day, it's ready on a certain day because the chefs are waiting for it.
Yes.
And we can't say, oh, there was frost 2 weeks ago and I don't have it this
tomorrow.
week. Yeah, you have to have a constant supply of plants.
Okay.
So a typical, like what we were looking at, rocket,
Yes.
it got a 10-day growth.
All right.
If it was, say, 15 or 16 degrees, that'd be a 14-day growth. Now, if
Yes,
it goes to 30 degrees, it'll speed up a little bit. It might go back to 9 days from 10, like. But I'd rather the plant coming a little earlier than coming in a little bit late. And then you can plan your production schedule. We have one here behind me, that on a Monday we will sow certain plants, knowing that they will be ready in 2 or 3 weeks' time. If it's done every week, you have a constant supply
Yes.
of the same plants coming through. And that's where the likes of the COVID really caught us out.
Right.
That say for a general lockdown, where we're going fine for 2 or 3 months, all of a sudden something's locked down. We have a supply of plants coming through for a full month. We've nowhere to go with them.
You can't tell them to stop.
And the reverse is also the case. We don't know when the lockdown might be lifted.
Oh, yes,
So when do we start sowing?
Yes.
Yeah. So we've start planning now that it's safe to 3-week lockdown. We start sowing today for 3 weeks' time.
Yeah.
So it's a continuous flow, and it's with all farmers and with all growers. They all have the same problems.
Okay.
That you have to hit the season bang on, or hit the market bang on at a certain time, or someone else will move in. They're more than happy to.
So it's competitive. What's here, Dave? I'm looking around and...
What we have here is it's a selection of some of the seeds that we've grown there in the last 2 or 3 days. We stack them high just to save space.
Okay.
Because the plant, we're only growing them just till the sprout.
Right.
They don't actually have to grow at all. Once they burst, we can move them out and start to
They'll
grow
only
them.
be in here 2 days.
That's
4
maybe
days,
2
7
days up to a
depending.
week. Different plants have different requirements then.
Okay.
That some they grow fine in the dark, they'll germinate fine. Excuse me, other plants we might need a little bit of light. So we just put them in bags like this with a few lights sitting on top. And they're just, you can just see the little white specks just starting to come on them.
Oh, yes.
They need light, that's red
You're
vein
telling
sun.
me they're not all the same.
Not all
They
plants are
have
the
their own little
same, but an
different
awful
ones.
lot of them are the same.
Right.
They're the little things that you learn as you're going along. That some plants, mint, red vein, sorrel, lemon balm, need light to germinate. And you could sit them like that stacked for 2 years and they still wouldn't grow.
Okay.
And you give them 2 days light and up they go. It's just nature's way of looking after itself.
You learn.
And it goes back to the plant in its native environment. Red vein sorrel seed, very small seed, lands on the top of the ground, the sun shines on it, takes off. Whereas something like a nasturtium seed would be a lot bigger.
Yeah.
It'll be buried or be carried by a bird, be dropped into the ground, and it grows. So they go back to nature, and we're just trying to mimic nature, maybe in a more controlled way.
Yeah.
So what we have here then, maybe is apple marigold. We sold them 3 or 4 days ago. And that's the stage.
Yes. Yeah. They look healthy to me.
They do. Now, when you look at it first, you'd see, what's the white thing coming?
Yes.
And it's root hairs.
Okay.
Now, sometimes you might get a little bit of mould on it, but if you give that a water and it comes back absolutely spotless, the root hairs, because there's no light, they're searching. The plants don't know where to go. As soon as they start getting light, roots go down. And that's what you're looking at here, is the actual root. It's not the stem of the plant. You're looking at the roots,
Right.
trying to find where they're going. We give them water, they'll follow the water.
Of course.
Roots naturally go down, stems go up.
There you go. I'm learning as I go along, Dave. I'm learning a lot today, yeah. And I notice all your seeds along there, all along the bottom.
Yeah,
Where are you getting your seeds from, Dave?
We bring them in from all over.
Right.
Buy a lot from the UK. With Brexit coming, we've actually been looking for other sources.
Okay.
We don't really know. While they say in the UK supplier says there's going to be no effect, the 1st of January could come, and if there is a problem, we're in a big problem.
Yeah.
So we're sourcing seeds from Holland, from Italy. We get a small bit from America, from Johnny Seeds in the US, and CN Seeds in the UK. The UK companies look like they're moving to Europe because the bulk of their operations are out there. They grow their plants out there.
Okay.
The most of their market is out there. Brexit is going to cause an awful lot of problems, and they're only going to be identified, I think, on the 1st of January.
Well, you'll be ready. It sounds like you're ready anyway, Dave.
There's huge opportunities for us with the Brexit as well.
Yeah.
That a lot of the imports that are coming in are going to get held up in customs. And if they only get held up for a day on a fresh produce, it could be a big thing.
Yes.
So it'll give Irish growers maybe that little bit more of an advantage where they can, our supply chains haven't changed.
Okay. And I just noticed here, Dave, a little sign that says
Dad's Shed.
Dad's Shed or Dave's Shed. So this is where you come to relax and hide, Dave.
That's right, yeah.
Well done. You deserve it, that's for sure. And here we are in Dave's second polytunnel. And if you can see, this is full of beautiful edible flowers, all colours, all shapes, all sizes. Some gorgeous tomatoes at the end, and finishing off with a beautiful butterfly sorrel which Dave will introduce. Dave, would you bring Jayme on a journey through your polytunnel, please?
No problem at all. We've a good range of flowers there. It's something we started about 3 years ago. The chefs were asking for it, and we were going into the restaurants anyway with the cresses. And it's something that's really picked up in popularity, definitely in the last 2 or 3 years.
Correct, I've seen it, yeah.
It started as a niche. Most restaurants we go into now, with some section of that restaurant would use flowers.
Yeah.
The selection we have at the moment, we're coming to the very back end of the season, to be honest. We don't add heat or light or anything to the flower selections. We try to have a few around Valentine's Day, the likes of violas and that, just for a bit of colour for that. But it's really, I suppose, Patrick's Day onwards when the flowers kind of start. They get into their best around May time, and you have May right through until the end of September. They're probably at their peak, and then they disappear very quick. Once the evenings get cool, the flowers
stop.
An awful lot of them will be your ordinary bedding type plants. They'll be soft. We don't do any through the winter time. It's just, all you're doing is pumping light and heat into a plant that doesn't really want to be there. Whereas with the cresses, they respond well to light and heat. The flowers just do their own thing. They follow Mother Nature. Beautiful. So with just a couple of the selections we have through, we have about, I suppose, 10 or 12 different types at the moment, starting from, which is a very, very popular one, is the geraniums. They come in a range of flower colours. They're very hardy. They hold well in the fridge. Yeah. And that's, at the end of the day, you have to have a product that'll keep. There's no point coming in on a Monday with a beautiful looking flower and by Tuesday it's gone off.
Because once you cut the flower,
it's dead. You know, you're trying to preserve it and hold on to it as best we can. So we've a range of the geraniums. We can do them all in one type. It depends what the chef wants, all one type, or we can do a selection of different colours through it, single or double flowers. It's very much down to what they want them for. Okay. There's an increasing demand for them for cakes, particularly wedding cakes.
Yes, pastry chefs.
In the last 2 years, it's unbelievable the amount of people that would ask for a flower on a stem. And what they're looking for is, now that'll be a very short stem, and they'll press them. And either hold them through the winter, or else they'll use them immediately, like within the 3 or 4 days or a week or so after pressing. Yes. And they look fantastic. They just line them along.
Well, for years, pastry chefs would have been making them out of icing and sugar, trying to imitate. But now you have the real thing.
Have the real thing.
Of course, a lot less work.
So the geraniums are very popular that way. They're hardy. They last in the fridge. They look beautiful. And like this is at the back end of the season, like in the summertime when you come in here. It just really, it still catches my breath.
Oh, I wish the camera could smell the aroma I'm smelling. It's fantastic.
Dotted through, as well as having the flowers, we've got some specialty leaves.
What's that, Dave?
This in particular is a red shiso. Very, very popular in the Asian cuisine. It's a larger version of the microgreen that we grow, the red shiso. Okay. And it's used a lot for wrap, as a wrap. You'd know better as a chef, Tom, but as far as I know, the larger leaves, the wrap, maybe some crab meat through it, or definitely with the Japanese cuisine, the sushi.
Yes, yeah.
And
it has flavour. And
it's packed with flavour. And we'd sell them in packs then, maybe 25 or 30 in a pack as a large leaf. Right. Some people ask for the tips. And because we're small, if you ask us for it, we can do it.
Of course.
We're versatile. Yes. Right behind it, you'll see some sorrels, some mint, some coriander. The things that people have asked us to grow. Coriander is just on the left-hand side there of the post. We're trying to get the flower to grow on it. Okay. It's a little bit late in the year for it, but there's a chef in town, he wants coriander flower. He wants it in October, it's going on the menu. So we said we'd try. Whether it works or not, I do not know.
If you give Dave a challenge, he'll make it happen.
We also have some mint there, mint tips. And it's a thing that we're asked for fairly regularly. Okay. It suits us as a plant because we can just cut the top off and it keeps growing back and back and back. Yes. It's something we do in small amounts at the moment, but we definitely look into it for next year. This is the in plant of this year from what I can see. Okay, what's that? We're following the trend a little bit on this one. Oxalis or sorrel. There was for a good few years people have been using wood sorrel, but it just doesn't hold. You cut it and it's just gone nearly straight away. So there's different varieties have been developed that will just last a bit longer, and these are just some of the varieties of the sorrels that we're growing at the moment. Of a larger leaf, we're using the butterfly sorrel. It's purple oxalis.
And that's 100% edible.
And it has and fabulous flavour. It's got that like apple rind. Okay. For all the work, gooseberry, that kind of a flavour to it. There's a green version.
Shape for
fabulous, and it can actually be broken down then again into individual pieces. Oh. Fascinating thing about these is that at night time they close. That they all close back up into a triangle. Now I can't really do it with my hands there, but it completely folds up.
So you come out and every Amazing.
The flowers on them you can see are just about to close.
Yeah.
They open about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, just as the sun has come up and there's a bit of heat in the day.
Okay.
They stay open all day, and at 4 o'clock they start to close again.
That's Mother Nature.
The only time they can be used is for lunch service, because they're closed at night.
Oh, of course.
And even if you pick them, they're fascinating. Even if you pick them when they're open, you put them in the fridge, they close back up again.
Yeah.
Mother Nature again looking after itself.
Terrific.
The
Great.
second type that we have here is the Ironheart. It's an oldish variety, but it's increasingly been asked for. And a lot of chefs are using both together. They use the purple and the Ironheart together, and it gives great colour on the plate.
Nearly like art, food art.
Yeah, well, what some chefs can do on a plate is as
Yes.
close to art as you're going to get.
Yeah.
You might just notice there's a few little white flies flying around. Again, it emphasises we don't use chemicals
Yeah,
on them.
Absolutely. These are all natural,
Yeah,
chemical free, spray free. I haven't sprayed anything in here except water, Dave.
that's it, just water, yeah. And a few choice words from every now and
That
again.
happens when they're allowed. That's allowed.
But if you put them in the fridge, the white fly dies.
Yes.
So we can control it that way, like
Oh,
there's
yeah.
no problem at all. They don't do any harm. They add a little bit of extra protein maybe to the plate.
Yes, the day will come.
This is the big plant of this year. They're looking for a smaller leaf. While these are very pretty, they're a large leaf on a plate if you're doing very dainty food.
Yeah.
So what we're
Dominate.
trying to get a smaller leafed red vein sorrel.
Ah, yes.
Zinfandel, Oxalis Zinfandel. A couple of types of it. There was a variegated one that came through, and there's a pure red one. And again, it's very dainty on the plate. It's a small size. Tastes the same, almost identical.
Right.
And again, almost identical to wood sorrel. Not the exact same, but we can
Yeah.
sell it on a stem. We can cut it and sell it on a stem, so that it'll last a lot better than wood sorrel.
So even as a table decoration, it'd be gorgeous.
So it doesn't lose its
Okay.
moisture because it's actually still attached to the stem, and we can get 3 or 4 days out of it.
Okay.
Now, as a bit of research, we try to actually grow it and sell it as a live plant.
Okay.
Now, because you couldn't afford to be selling them in large pots, but we started making cuttings, and this would be particularly interest to the botanical students.
Okay.
If we take that, just that little stem,
Stick it in there.
stick it in there, give it the right conditions, it'll root within 2 weeks, and that plant is 6 weeks old.
Unbelievable.
So we can sell the plant. If we'd let it go for another 2 or 3 weeks, it'll be fully covered in flowers as well. So not only have we got a perfectly live plant, which the churches will go mad for, it'll never go off, it'll just keep
Yes,
growing
of
and growing
course.
and growing. It'll also keep producing flowers. And the flowers, they're very pretty, but they're very, very delicate. They don't last.
Yes.
So to be able to pick
Bit
them
like the
straight,
ladies, Dave, just treat them gently.
to be able to pick them straight onto the plate, you cannot get fresher than that. And this is definitely something we're going to do a lot of next year.
Okay.
We spent this year trying to develop it. We nearly have it right, but I think it's something we can roll out next year.
You'll have that perfect.
We also have a golden version of it. It's not as popular, mainly because it doesn't hold. The chefs won't ask for it because it goes off so quick in the fridge. But if you can get a live version of it, it won't go off. And when the chef is finished, plant it in his garden. All it'll do is keep growing and growing
Just
and
keep
growing.
putting it, picking. So you're
Yeah.
selling value for money, Dave. That's what I'm hearing.
There's a few chefs, and they've actually done their garden with it. A little kitchen garden. When they finish using it, they plant them out, and they've stopped buying off me. They have enough of their own supply.
The market out there is big enough. So
It's
I know
big
you don't
enough.
mind, Dave.
Not
It's
at all.
fantastic.
I'm delighted to see chefs actually go and doing that to
Yeah.
grow their own plants.
That's the whole idea of the Botanical Cuisine course, is to get them out here, teach them, motivate them, inspire them to grow your own. So that's the whole nucleus of the course.
It gives the plant a chef a greater understanding of the effort it takes to actually
Yes.
grow the plant as
Oh,
well.
yeah. It just isn't sprinkle seeds and off you go. With that effort. These are flowers I have in my own garden, Dave.
This is your French marigold.
Yeah.
Again,
Edible.
they're starting to get a little bit shook now at this stage. It's on the very back end. We're
Okay.
picking off these non-stop, week in, week out. And you can see the buds just still coming through, though a little bit slower at this time of the year.
Okay.
The flowers get a little bit smaller. It's just a lack of light. But they still taste the exact same. An awful lot of chefs can use it either as the full leaf like that, but if you just break the back off it, it breaks down into tiny little petals.
yes.
And that's sprinkled over a salad. Lovely citrusy flavour.
Yes.
And it gives
Colour.
great value. You put that into 100 or 200 grams of a mix, salad mix,
It's just a nice balance.
and it gives it a little bit of life.
Super. Simple and super. Moving on, Dave. What's next?
Dianthus,
Gorgeous.
which are
Purple
starting to
colours,
go
pink
over.
colours.
This was a big find this year. A blue flower that has a bit of presence. It's
Yeah.
phlox. And we
What's it
have
called,
a
Dave? Say that again.
phlox.
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 Okay.
Now there's a range of colours. We just tried it this year with a blue one. I had 1 or 2 outside to see what they grow as well. They don't really like the rain, but they grew perfect in here, and they've been flowering there since about the end of April. Right through, just give them a bit of water, Small little bit of a seaweed extract we give them as a feed just to boost them up, give them a little bit of energy, and they just pick and pick and pick, and they keep coming back. Very, very popular for the cupcakes and things like that. It's the blue colour. It's very hard to get a nice blue colour. A
natural food colour, a blue food colour, is very hard to get. It's quite rare.
Yeah.
So you've achieved it there.
And there's a slight fragrance to it, kind of sweet.
Right.
There's no real taste to it as such, but it just there is
decorative purposes
on the nose, and it looks lovely. Yeah, and it's nice, dainty. It's just a nice size. It's not too big. You can go back to smaller size flowers. Then you've got something like verbena.
Oh, right.
Whoa.
Verbena.
It comes in a stem. It's not the lemon verbena now. It's a hybrid version of it. It doesn't taste anything like lemon verbena, but again, it breaks down into tiny little flowers, and they're perfect even to scatter over canapes. So that just gives a little bit of colour. For pastries, brilliant in the pastry section. No real flavour to them, which again can be a good thing. That if you just want a bit of colour, sometimes you're adding too many flavours into a plate. Chefs don't want that either. They come in a range of colours. Again, they're just starting to go over now a little bit. There's a little bit of whitefly starting to come onto them. That disappears as soon as you put them into the fridge. It's gone overnight. Perfect plant.
And
bit of the golden Oxalis that we had before, but then we're back into the violas. The single biggest seller that we'd have in a flower.
Oh my God, you all look happy there.
Yeah, surprisingly, for this time of the year now, they're actually doing fairly well.
Yeah. And again, the soil on these, Dave, what are they sitting in?
That's reconstituted soil that we've used from the microgreens.
So zero waste.
We've zero waste that way. Sometimes we might have to add a little bit of perlite or gravel or that through it just to open them up a bit, just so they don't kind of get over wet. But most of the time it works perfectly. If you get a bit of disease through it, you'll see there might be 1 or 2 pots just missing. Pick them out, throw them away, and they'll keep going and going and going.
Yeah.
When we're busy, they will be picked clean maybe 3 times a week.
Really?
So they come back that quick that if there was absolutely no flowers that, if we pick that off today's Monday, by Wednesday we'd have to pick it again. And the secret to them is keep them picked. If you can keep them picked hard, you get lovely big flowers.
Oh Dave, as a chef, can you tell me, how can I buy edible flowers? How much, what shape, what size?
We sell in a range of types. It depends if it's a chef you're sending to in a restaurant, or it's a pastry chef, or someone's making wedding cakes at home, what the range you get.
Okay.
Of the range we do, we can either do a mixture like our edible flower wheel.
That's a beautiful selection, so I can buy that whole selection.
The whole selection there, or you could even ask us if you just want one type, or you just want white ones, or like in this example we just have yellow violas. We could have a mixture of violas, snapdragons, geraniums, verbenas, phlox, and some pink geraniums. It's whatever the chef wants. Like, we try to please. Or individually, for say large catering, either it's ideal. But if it's just a small restaurant or just a certain dish that you wanted for, just get a selection of something like violas. We sell them individually, or the Oxalis that we were talking about earlier on, or red sorrels, which sell them individually.
Yeah. So when they arrive, straight into the fridge.
When we pick them, we pick to order every morning. So there's nothing in our fridge overnight. We just pick. We get the orders. We pick them early. Get them into our fridge for an hour, just to get if there's a little bit warm in the morning, just get the chill into them. It's fierce important that if we get them cool early, they'll last much longer.
That's science.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's just the quicker we can get them. Like I was going to pick these earlier on today, and with the sun came out, said no way, we have to pick them fresh.
Okay.
But we're delivered then. Like if we pick them, say at 6:30 or 7 in the morning, they're in the restaurant at 10 o'clock. So it's that's the freshness.
And I believe you deliver yourself.
Yeah, we deliver ourselves. Yeah,
I have help as well.
I have help as well, but but we like to keep the contact with the chefs. Like it's how we started out, and it's what driven our business is sitting and talking to them. But the key to the flowers is the freshness, and that's why we sell them so well. An awful lot of flowers are imported. It would frighten you where they come from.
If they're travelling 1,000 miles.
They could be 3 or 4 days old before they even get here, and no matter how cool you keep them, once you pick them. They're going backwards. So like in most cases what we would pick that morning would be on a plate at lunchtime or at that evening. We deliver into town every day ourselves, into Dublin, but we have a nationwide delivery, and we work through wholesale partners that way as well. But we encourage the chefs just to order what they need, either for that day or for a very short period ahead of it, particularly with flowers. With our cresses, because they're live grown, they can get a week's supply into one go, but if you want flowers you need them fresh, and we would pick them every morning for you fresh. Deliver them in, say you have them at 10 o'clock, they were picked at 6:30 or 7 in the morning.
That's fresh.
That night they're on the table, ready to go. And if you need fresh ones the next day, just ring and go again the next day.
So the secret is, don't bulk order flowers, Buy enough for that day.
Buy what you need.
And buy the rest tomorrow.
Yeah, there's no problem at all. Because it's very important, if you're going to use flowers, they have to look right.
Yes.
Like, it's a luxury. Putting a flower on
Yeah.
the plate is a luxury.
Yes.
There's very few cases where you'd be putting it on for its flavour. So it really is just to bring a bit of sunshine to the plate or that. There's no point having a dull sunshine on the plate. It
No.
needs to shine. We
Absolutely.
can deliver them in every day and they are shining. Why change that? Why put it in your fridge for a week?
Yes. Oh yeah, and you mentioned earlier too, if we were importing flowers, those flowers are 3 days on that truck and they've travelled for 1,000 miles, they cannot be the same.
At least 3
Simply
days.
cannot be the same.
There's flowers coming from South Africa, from Israel, from America, come thousands and thousands of miles away.
Yeah.
For a very basic product that can be grown here, absolutely no problem at all.
Right.
We can do it just as good, the same price, no problem at all.
I think you can do better, Dave. I think this is fantastic. I think it's far superior than anything that's coming in. Thanks very much for that, Dave. Appreciate it.
More than welcome.
Super. Now, so that's it for our visit to Dave Heffernan's Littlecress Microgreens event today, botanical event. I'd like to thank Dave for all of his time today and his fabulous display that he put on for us. I'd like to thank Jayme on the camera for the quality of what you're watching. And if you have enjoyed what you've seen and we have inspired you somewhat and you look forward to Botanical Cuisine, please visit us on our website at TU Dublin Tallaght Campus. You can leave a message, you can email us or give us a call. We'd be delighted to talk to you. Thank you.